thank you, and then get back home as with everything else. If you are ready and willing and able to give blood, please call 800-933-2566. Again, 800-933-2566, or go to www.nybc.org, nybc.org. Everyone, I've heard from so many New Yorkers who want to do something, who are looking to be helpful and, are frustrated by this crisis and want to help. Here is a way that anyone who qualifies can help. So we really, really appreciate that. In Spanish, comenzando esta noche.
You've been watching Mayor de Blasio from New York City with an update on the coronavirus pandemic. He calls this the epicenter of America when it comes to this crisis. An update on numbers and the reason for that. 1/3 of the cases across America are in New York City. The latest number is 9,654 cases, including 63 deaths now. Of that number, he says this is disproportionately, as we've been told over the last few weeks, affecting older New Yorkers. 35% of the hospitalizations are people over 70 years old. He also broke down the numbers a little further, telling us that people under 44 so far accounting for 0 of those 63 deaths. Some other news coming from this press conference that the mayor continues in Spanish at the moment. He says about parks, they will stay open for now. They're going to do this on a week-by-week basis, and they update it. Parks will stay open for now. They encourage people to do this with only their families, the people that they're with, and it will be much simpler than this episode. I bring about the men and women of the New York City Police Department, as well as all the other city agencies, certainly the healthcare workers across the board are rising to the challenge. And it's at a time like this when be serviced by traditional means and working with elected officials, working with community partners, getting them food. So I can tell you that I couldn't be more proud of what I've seen. To the parks, the mayor mentioned the parks, and in the last couple of days, it's an interesting dynamic now as we get through this time where we've been all stressed, I think, and all pent up inside, and we are like no other city in the world. In a city of over 8 million people, a vertical city. And you saw yesterday people getting out, exercising, which is a good thing. I can tell you that I hit in the last 48 hours, the East River Park, the West Side Highway. I personally saw Riverside Park, Central Park. Over 99% of what I saw is what you hope to see. New Yorkers coming out, parents with kids, responsibly, getting the exercise that the mayor talked about. No, I did not see organized sports. The biggest thing I saw was a 2-on-2 pickup game. And I can tell you that the men and women now of the New York City Police Department are getting more and more involved in this, as the mayor said. Made calls yesterday with some of the borough and bureau commanders of the NYPD to just reinforce that messaging piece of this. We're all in this together. Reinforce that positive message as much as you, whether it's on a bicycle, probably on some scooters and some marked police cars, driving slowly through the parks and just broadcasting and speaking to people about that message. Enjoy, how you doing? Get your exercise, and then politely get out of here. And I say that tongue-in-cheek. We are all in this together, and it was heartwarming, I'm sure, to see. Mr. Mayor, you touched on it. People that are behind closed doors all day, every day. That's not really what we're worried about when they're walking. A husband and wife holding hands in the park, taking a walk with their dog. That's not really what we're worried about. They're together in the apartment anyway, but it's the large groups. I heard from some elected officials yesterday and throughout the city working on this. We gotta think long distance here. This is a long game. So those backyard parties, those DJs, I'm sorry, DJs, I know how everyone is hurting here, but we can't be having parties with large gatherings, whether it's in backyards or anywhere else in New York City at this time right now. It's just too dangerous. So thank you. I'm sure we'll have some questions, but again, on behalf of all the men and women of the police department, thank you for all the kind words. We are there for you, and we're going to continue to be there for you.
Thank you very, very much, Commissioner. I think you laid it out very, very clearly. I think you said a very nice version of "get out of here." I like that, and we'll make sure the message spreads in a very smart, fair, decent way. With that, want to make sure that we now have an opportunity to take questions from the media on all the things we talk about here and any other topics they would like to bring up. And let's turn to the media questions. Who's first?
Hi all, just a quick note at the top. We ask that everyone limit their questions to no more than 2, including follow-ups. This allows us to be fair and try to get to as many people as possible. We will start off today with Aaron from the Post.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, sir, just wanted to circle back on the issue of parks and people going outdoors to get their exercise. And just wanted to see if there's any sort of understanding as far as what the cutoff would be, how much time is enough time, and also understanding that people have been pretty good about abiding by these rules as far as businesses goes, what the sort of potential enforcement or penalties might look like if you encountered anyone particularly obstinate.
I'll start, and I'm sure the commissioner has a view too. The first thing I want to say is the NYPD every single day, and I would say this about parks enforcement, and depending on how this plays out, we could easily get other agencies involved as well. But the story that I think is missed, and I don't ever blame the media for telling the exceptional story or the dramatic story, but I would like us all to do a little bit more, particularly in a time of crisis, to acknowledge what is exceptional and dramatic and unusual versus what is typical. When you hear the number of inspections were made and you only had 11 violations, as I mentioned earlier, out of 13,000 inspections, that really says something not just about store owners, but about what people in general are understanding about this crisis. And I have seen it in many places I've been in recent days. I really think there's a deep understanding that something profound has changed and it has to be handled differently. I have a lot of faith in New Yorkers. I have a lot of faith in everyday people. Will there be some individuals out of 8.6 million people who don't get it? Of course. And our officers, for time immemorial, have had to deal with people who don't get it, people who try and make their own rules, people who think they're smarter than anyone else. I assure you, there's no one more worldly wise than a New York City police officer. There's no one who understands the human condition better than a New York City police officer. And they are extraordinarily resourceful, our officers. So sometimes they use humor, sometimes they use firmness, sometimes they illustrate their point. Whatever it is, I've seen it throughout my life. They know how to talk to people. They know how to talk to young people and old people. They know how to talk to every kind of person. They'll make clear what you got to do, and I believe the vast, vast majority of New Yorkers will listen. We're not to the point yet of specific sanctions because we're starting down a road, and we'll decide with the state if we need to get into sanctions more deeply, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the number of people who truly don't get it and try and stand apart is going to be limited. And I affirm, if someone really wants to disagree with a police officer and acts in a manner that's inappropriate and illegal, well, then they will be handled the same way as anyone else who obstructs the work of a police officer. But I don't think we're even talking about the level we might see of that in normal times, because we're dealing with a crisis that's being felt in every inch of our city. I predict you're going to see a different reality in the world will spread. And I'll turn to the commissioner one more point. How much time? Well, we're going to work on this, and I think it would be helpful to give people some guidance. But I just want to start with common sense. How much time does it take to exercise? Folks who go for a jog in the morning know how long they go for a jog. People go for a bike ride know how long their bike ride is. People go for a walk know how long their walk is. You know what? If you're exercising now and you have a basic thing you do, for a lot of people I'd say it's a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. Go get in your exercise and get home. Or go do your exercise, go to the store, get home. The point is maximize the get home part. Get only the most basic exercise. Understand you need to walk your dog, and then get home. Your kids, understand you have young kids that are going crazy inside. You need to get them outside for a while. Get them outside for a while. As soon as you get them through a little bit of, working off their steam, get them back home. So we'll give some guidelines, but this is also about personal responsibility. This is about common sense, which is what the vast majority of New Yorkers have. We're not going to allow gatherings. We're not going to allow loitering. We're not going to allow someone just to hang out and for a long period of time. If an officer sees you and you're sitting on a park bench, they're going to say, hey, you need to get home. And the person says, I'm only going to be here for a few minutes and I'm going home. Fine. If someone thinks they can hang around for a long period of time, I assure you that officer will remind them again energetically. But people just have to get it. We have to help ourselves and each other by taking seriously, just what you need, nothing more, and get home. Commissioner.
As I hear this discussion, I'm thinking, and I laugh at the reputation that we have as New Yorkers of running around, running from one location to the other, bumping past each other, probably like no other city. I've seen the opposite in the last 2 weeks, and I'm sure you have too, whether it's in parks or walking around. There's a forced politeness these days of allowing one to pass before you proceed down a path. That's what I saw in the parks yesterday, and not universally, but you saw people giving each other that wide berth. In 2 weeks, we've learned to distance, whether it may not always be 6 feet, it may be 3 to 4 feet, but you're seeing this all over. And I saw it yesterday in every park that I visited. Not universally. Some issues, we will double down on the education piece. And this, I'll tell you, on a personal level, this hurts. The last thing you want to do is tell kids that are doing everything we want them to ordinarily, but not under these extreme circumstances, get out of a park. But we have to, we'll continue to educate. And again, I think the message here is you can find 3 or 10 or whatever it is messages on Twitter. I was out there myself and saw it firsthand. By and large, there were no large organized sports. There was people getting out on a beautiful day in a really difficult situation, and we'll continue to monitor it. We'll step up the presence as well as the audio messages and the speaking. And again, this is probably the least of my concerns.
I want to just build on
Commissioner.
I just want to build on that to say, as the mayor mentioned, we want New Yorkers to use good judgment in terms of time, but I want them to pay special attention to ensuring distance. This is about distance. This is not so much about time as it is about distance. And the longer, given the density of our city, the longer someone stays outside, the greater the risk of coming in contact with someone within that 6 feet perimeter. And so that's why focus on distance, not so much on time.
Right. That's great, and I want to just put a point on that, and then we'll keep going. I think Commissioner Barbeau said something that's really good common sense guidance. Yeah, if you stay out longer, your chances of bumping into someone, your chances of being put in a situation that's not the ideal, which is 6 feet apart, those chances increase. Where do you know you're not going to bump into someone or end up coming in contact with someone else who, God forbid, may have the disease? At home, right? It's when you're at home, you know what you're dealing with. So you get the exercise you need, keep it as tight as you can in terms of time. You go to the store. Even if you go to the store, keep your time as tight as possible. Observe that 6 foot distancing. Soon as you're done, get back home, because that's the safe thing to do. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy, but it's also not going to be forever. And we want to keep people safe. Go ahead.
If I could just one more in that vein, Mr. Mayor. Governor Cuomo this morning floated the ideas of potentially opening up some streets, or I should say closing them to vehicular traffic and opening them up for people who want to get out, stretch their legs, get a little fresh air. Is that anything that's being considered? And thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. I spoke to the governor about this, and